It's Sunday evening, just wrapping up for the night, and got a text from the producer for tomorrow that our interview room is very echoey, so they asked if I could bring some sound blankets. So a quick storage run. I could do like a 12 by black. Or do I'm only gonna bring what they asked for. Yeah, I'll just grab some of these furniture pads. Backing my Jeep into the garage, I had the van up a little too close and the winch on the Jeep front bumper fish hooked this piece of trim and broke it. Need to order that. Debating now, should I run over to the do-it-yourself car wash and spray down the van? It's a little dirty from the Fort Worth drive. Just a quick spray, brush and spray would look pretty good. Can you name another U.S. city that has a faster changing skyline than Austin, Texas? So this production offered a hotel for me last night, like weeks ago when this job booked, and I turned them down. I'm like, it's not too bad, easy drive up. And we had an 8:30 call time. Well, last night at about evening time, they pushed it up to 7:30, which actually was for the best because I got on the road at 5:15 this morning and I got up here in an hour and 10 minutes. It can take, to get here at 8:30, if I wanted to show up right on time, it'd be like a 2-hour drive. Check out this custom sound cart built out of 80/20 extruded aluminum. So this was not my show. I was just a gaffer and then a cam op for 2 days, bunch of different locations. One session of sit-down interviews was seamless, but it was an agency job and NDA, so I can't really show much, but did get all my aperture lights working and also put together these portable frame. These are like Matthews Road Rags, but it was another brand. They're like a third the cost, so we'll see how long they last. Day 2 in Austin on South by. This is the EDU week. The full South by, kind of the normal thing is next week. And I had 2 different jobs, 3 days of work for next week. One is not getting back to me, and the other one, which was the 2-day, got canceled because I guess whatever it is they wanted to cover, they didn't get all the permissions from all the people. So I got released. So hopefully I'll pick up something else South by Southwest related for early next week. And I just booked 2 days in Fort Worth later in the week in place of those other holds. One thing dropped and then a new thing came in within the hour. So I guess it was meant to be. So the 2017 ProMaster 1500 low roof. I bought this van in 2020. When I bought this van at $30,000, it had the original factory brakes. I have since, in terms of service, I've replaced the tires twice, almost all highway miles in Texas and numerous trips back to California, as well as some trips to Miami and back. You can see in my previous vlogs, but regardless, very few city miles, almost exclusively highway. So I got all the way to 142 before I had to service the brakes. Original brakes, 142,000 miles. They were down to 10% remaining on the rears. My fronts had a little bit more. It's thrown this intermittent error code that was a catalytic converter downstream sensor error. And the short of it is I basically gummed up the cats, the front bank cat, from driving with the misfiring. And I've noticed as of late, like the last maybe 15,000 miles, my mileage has been dropping. The vehicle's been less efficient. So I took it in and the mechanic wanted to replace the catalytic converter. $1,800 part plus labor. So brake job and the front back cat replacement plus downstream sensor. It's like $3,000 at the mechanic. That's the biggest repair bill I've had on the van. 4th trip to the van this morning, should be the last. Fortunately, it's conveniently parked across the street, not too bad, and in the shade. Saturday evening, I got 3 hours of live shots coming up. I'm an hour out from my first hit. and I'm on the south side of San Antonio at Kelly Field, which is Lackland Air Force Base on one side and Boeing. I'm on the Boeing side of the airfield. Reason I'm here is the shoulder of the road here, which has a sidewalk. There's some views of some Air Force aircraft. I think they're C-130s that are being serviced. And so we'll be able to get a shot with some aircraft in the background. All right, first hit, it's about 40 minutes out. The sun will still be up. It'll be out of frame. I have the eyebrow ready for flare issues. I'm gonna run just the one aperture 300D as a key. I'm going to walk it as close to lens as possible once I get my correspondent in place. The LED panel is standing by for the second hit after the sun sets, at which point I may just wrap the 300D and put another little newer panel there in its place. Today'd be a good day for a couple of Astra 6Xs, but I sold mine when I moved out of California, thinking I was done doing junkets and ENG type of work, and then boom, moved to Texas, ended up doing more news than I ever did in California. So yeah, I don't know, I might buy some Astras at some point, but I'm out of space in the van. Thinking I might get rid of, I want to sell my Gemini 2x1s. I haven't priced it out yet, but if you're interested in 2 low-hour Geminis with snap bags, please reach out to me, particularly if you're within pickup distance to San Antonio. Just discovered last week at South by, I must have had a little casualty. Oh, someone dropped my lens when I wasn't looking, but this outer ring is broken. It looks like it's cast metal. That white ring looks like fractured. No, it's not. It's like a gasket. So maybe I can press that back on. I don't want to mess with it too much until this today wraps, because it's functional, just questionable. I almost bought a Starlink this week, and now I'm wishing I had, because I could have tested it out on this location. I put on a cellular, but I want to try out the Gen 3 portable dish. I'm gonna get one at some point. I ended up buying something else instead for a job next week back up at South by Southwest. The big week. Week 1 was the EDU week, and week 2 is the regular South by. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
News Nation correspondent Jorge Ventura joining us live from San Antonio with the details tonight. Jorge, what can you tell us?
So, Natasha, at this moment, authorities are still investigating the cause of this helicopter crash. What we do know is that this crash did occur yesterday mid-afternoon around 2:50 local time in a field south of La Grula, Texas. That's about 40 miles west of McAllen.
It got dark out here. 1 hit to go. Shooting ISO 12,800 at an f4, which is minimum aperture on this lens. I have the newer lights set to the minimum dimmer intensity daylight, and then I had to back them up a bit to slow them down enough to match. I mean, I'm still probably 2 stops brighter than the background, but you can see they've got some light towers on the aircraft back there, which exposed brighter on my iPhone than 12,800 on the FX9.
Of cartel members that took this video of the helicopter right before its crash. You could hear these members laughing in the background as the tragedy unfolded. Just a few weeks ago, the Army National Guard announced a grounding of all of its helicopters for safety reasons following 2 separate crashes in February. So as of this moment, Natasha, it's not clear why that aircraft was flying in the first place.
Slow learning curve for me. It took a year for me to realize when we boot back up, I don't have to call the station to start streaming again. I can just push the play button. What is this one? Can't see. Guess it's not that button. Oh, it's up here. There we go. Streaming, spooling up. So we're exposed. There we go. Still coming up to speed. Also noticed at this location, I'll wait for this to settle. Should be 3.6. we got 3 modems connecting. It's weird, it's like, it's got a signal, but it says no network. So I got 1 T-Mobile, 1 AT&T, and then the no name. But modem 1, which is one of the internals, which also has two different SIM cards.
Jorge Ventura live in San Antonio. Thank you. Well, take a look. There is new video.
F22X, the version 2 mounts for the stands arrived. So I'm playing with them, but I can see how they solved one problem, but created a new one. Using the old 90 bracket, you can't tilt more than 90 degrees to the floor. And in most cases, I'm using these for interviews where I want them tilted like you see here. So I threw in a small mini-size Matthews grip head, but it's not a 5/8 size hole. So I'm like 1 thread holding that grip head together, and actually the whole thing fell apart when I loosened it. So that's not the right solution. And then I switched to a regular size grip head, but now the pin has got to be almost to the end to be able to tilt down for like your typical key or fill light interview angle. I don't know what the best solution is here. Please, if you got a suggestion for me, let me know in the comments below. I was thinking maybe I modify the old 90 pin, like I could drill and tap the end there to screw that onto the new mount. But then I discovered I could actually remove this old post because it's just 1 screw holding it all together. So I don't have to drill and tap anything. I can just repurpose this part. But with that installed, just using the old mount as reference, the pin isn't long enough, so you can't really tilt down that much past 90 degrees. So really, I think the best solution is an old school Kino Flow style lollipop pin. And testing out a new lens. This is for week 2 of South by Southwest, the big week. I've got 2 camera positions at the venue. I was there last week. I think it's the same room, but they have these 2 boxes where you can land cameras. We did have 3 cameras on the order. They reduced it to 2, but learning from last week, I didn't have enough of a throw. We had a 70-200 on one of the cameras, and even that I don't think was quite tight enough for a standard close-up of the presenter on stage. So the 200-600 has been on my wish list for a bit for B-roll and basically conference work. I have my nice 30-300 $40,000 PL zoom. Thing's super heavy, and even 300 isn't always enough at Super 35. So I love that this thing, I can run it at 6K, 5K, and Super 35 window to get a close up. And I was just looking like for news in 2K, that parked vehicle right there. I'll show you 2K. I can get a, okay, I'm in 59.94 mode for news this afternoon, so I can't shoot 6K, but that's 5K, 600 millimeter. The car off there in the distance. And then this is what Super 35 looks like, and here is Super 16. So for news, that's going to be a good option for me. It's all about getting the shot, not necessarily optimum optical performance. Now that is the first time for me. That's like what a standard like 18:1 ENG zoom with a doubler. With the doubler in, zoomed in all the way, that's the kind of shot you can get from that distance. So happy to see I'm there, but it is a little disappointing. Like if I zoom out, that's 200 at 2K. So, you know, not like any still lens, not much magnification range. So yeah, not really a useful lens for news because I need wide, medium, tight all in one. But yeah, someday Dave's gonna buy a old school ENG camera again. I have one in storage, but it's standard def. And I should try pulling that old school. It's an industrial lens and it doesn't have a doubler. I think it's an 18:1 Canon servo zoom. Yeah, that'd be so soft. Just keeping it around for nostalgic purposes. Hazard fraught, $40 for the win. Pretty good. Had a set of rods spare that fit. had a spare lens support, and this foot I'll probably never use. This is more for stills or maybe on the FX3. It's a little tight on the sunshade, but you can see here, that's just kind of resting. But it compresses without too much force, so I'll take it. Since my 28 to 135 is damaged, I'm not going to use it tonight. Let me see if I can repair this afternoon. But I think it's got to go back to Sony. I do have a second one of these, but live shots tonight, I think we're going to be in the same position as last night, and the background ambient light levels were really low, so that's a 4. My 17 to 120 Canon is a 2.9. So I'm going to run this tonight, and somehow I misplaced the rods. They were not in the case. I don't know what happened to them, the proper length rods. So I got these. These are from one of my old C300 kits that are too long. And I need to run a matte box because we're going to have the sun in the background for one of our hits. So I need to eyebrow to control flare. Focus. So my normal matte box for the 17 to 120, my preferred matte box, I have a Mauve Cam clip-on. It's fairly lightweight, but it's out on the rental with my Amira. So I converted my MB20. I have the clip-on adapter for this. You know, it's a little more heavy-duty cinema style. Quite a bit more weight, just to run an eyebrow. And then I realized the matte box I normally run on that kit zoom, the small rig, it fits without any adapter rings. I think it's 114. So we're good there, and it just barely clears the rods that are too long, whereas the ARRI matte box is too big, the MB20. So, got my eyebrow. I may get 1 or 2 more of these. I've been really happy with this. I think it's $99 plus the additional for the appropriate clip-on rings. I've had a few questions. People have asked me, how do I clip that matte box on this lens? So this is a threaded small rig adapter ring. They're hard to find, but it's threaded like it's a filter, 95 millimeter inside thread. So it threads on the inside of this lens versus clamping on the outside, which is also probably how I damaged this. I was thinking back to South by last week, and I put this lens in my still photo backpack with the matte box installed. And I think the bag, I remember like I haphazardly, one of the shoulder straps was loose and it slipped off my back. So the backpack fell, I was probably just above my knee, and it fell to the carpeted floor. It seemed like a soft drop, but I think the angle was just right where it like, because it was wedged in that backpack, it kind of, that's what jacked this up. It had just enough like leverage from the clip-on. So my fault, my bad. But hey, you know what? That's the first time I've damaged one of those lenses in 4 years of like weekly use. Additional inspection on this lens, and after a little bit of Googling, I'm confident I can repair this myself. I don't need to send it in. First issue is the small rig 95 mil adapter ring is stuck on here. I can't get it untwisted. I watched a few YouTube videos on removing a stuck filter, and one of the recommendations is a rubber wrench. Home Depot locally here has them in stock, so on my way to work today, I'm going to pick up one of these. And then I've got the next 2 days off, so I'll attempt to dismantle this during the week. And then I did some Googling. If the part is broken, and I think it is, the replacement ring is $150. There's eBay. I saw some other sources as well. Although I'm a little concerned that there's 3 little machine screws that hold this in place. And I'm afraid maybe a screw is stripped or the head got ripped off or something. So I don't know. I don't think this comes with the screws. So that may be an issue for me, but we'll figure that out. And then I Googled on how to remove this because I don't see any screw heads or anything. I don't know how to get to that part. And it feels like out of the 3 screws, only 1 remains holding it in place. So good old YouTube University. The sister lens, the 18 to 110, is the same assembly. It looks the same to me. And this guy, Christian Calabrese, has covered it. So I'm just going to follow his steps to disassemble, and there are 3 machine screws, the black ones that hold that plastic ring in place. And if I look in here deeper, I can see where one of those machine screws seats right here, and that plastic is torn. So I think 2 of them are ripped out, which means this ring is broken. So like I said, I'll pick up that wrench on the way to work today. I'm gonna use the Canon 17-120 in place for tonight. And I've got a busy week coming up, 3 days on the road, 2 different jobs, 3 different locations, 3 different cities. So it's gonna be a hotel run again, and we'll review all of that at the end of next week. Thanks for watching.